Origin Chess Home Studio Reaction. This is the Super F-22 is absolutely insane by Charles Task and Purpose. Yes, on the Task and Purpose video. This is about F-20. What the hell? Super F-22? I thought F-22 can't be upgraded. That's what people told me overwhelmingly. That F-22 is great and all that, but you can't really upgrade it, this and that. You can upgrade F-16 and things like that, but you can't upgrade F-22. So you have to make 6th generation, this and that. How is that a new upgrade then? Like, it felt stupid to me as well. Like, what do you mean you can't upgrade it? Like, it's a plane, it's a equipment. I'm sure they can figure it out to make it better. You can make anything better. You can always upgrade something, especially at this level, billions of dollars involved. Well, Lockheed can do it. Of course, they can do it. So, new Super F-22. I thought they were like on the way to make 6th generation, like just few years away now, right? Like, it will be fully implemented in 2030. Before that, there will be tests done or something. So, why they are doing Super F-22 then? To me, it feels like they're thinking there might be conflict with Taiwan or Russia or anything in those 6 years, so they have to upgrade or something type of way. Because if you have like 2030, 6th generation is already there, why would you worry about F-22 in the first place? I think that's their worry there, right? I'm pretty sure like Marines and Navy in general is like in aggressive mode now. I'm pretty sure I watched a video. Was it from Task and Purpose or what? I don't know. But they're like preparing for it, like Taiwan and things like that. So that's just fucked up. That's the time we live in. The next 6 years might be horrendous. Who knows? So it's going to be interesting. It's from Task and Purpose. Awesome channel. Awesome channel for all these updates. Military updates and equipment updates. I like equipments a lot. I'm a very tech guy. Scientific guy, but tech guy. So whenever there's like new tech, military tech is out there, it's always awesome to see. Usually like military is like forefront of everything. Even if you want to go to space, some military thing has to be involved. So when military does something, new technology gets introduced, it might trickle down to everyday use. So it's always interesting to see like that. So let's do this one. Remember, if you like my reaction, don't forget to subscribe. So I know which type of videos to react to more. If you haven't seen other reactions I did, check out the link in the description or in the end of the video end card. And yeah, let's do it.
The story of the American F-22 Super Raptor proves that you can always strive to be a little bit better. You can always push yourself to be a little more lethal. And there's always room for the overachiever. Because the F-22 is currently getting a massive $11 billion overhaul over the next decade. The US Air Force announced these changes at the end of 2021, making it the most lethal thing to fly since the Jurassic period. And now we're just recently finally getting a glimpse of what changes the new and improved aircraft will have. In the words of Air Force Acquisition Chief Andrew Hunter, this is an effort to re-optimize for competition with China. And that's what I want to examine in this video, what upgrades it's getting and specifically why it needed them. But I also want to know why the US just gave me whiplash and went from considering retiring the F-22 to now prioritizing its upgrade.
That's the one thing I always got, like, oh, they're retiring F-22, even that is like old, even though it's most dominant today, that's getting old now. I've said it, like, I'm pretty sure they're not going to retire it point blank. I've said those in those videos when people were telling me they're going to retire it. Even if 6th generation out, they're not really going to retire F-22. It's so badass, there might be use for it. There you go, they upgraded it.
We'll also dive into the major debate happening in the Air Force right now about whether it's really a smart idea to invest human and material resources into the old Raptor, when that money could be going towards the new 6th generation fighter instead. But first I want to tell you about this video's sponsor, War Thunder, probably the most comprehensive vehicle combat game ever made. It's available to play for free on PC, PlayStation, and...
Yeah, Task and Purpose doing War Thunder ad. Always is stuff. Is he going to talk about the forum?
Xbox. And even just with the mouse and keyboard, its simulator mode...
Yeah, people, go to original video page link and from there support this channel. Really awesome channel. Yeah, and War Thunder is awesome as well. I'm pretty sure I've seen Sets and Tech video on it.
The F-22 Raptor was a quantum leap in combat capabilities. So how did the upgrades prepare the F-22 to operate well into the 2040s? And furthermore, how do they bolster the US position against present-day threats? The addition of new aviation systems are a major highlight. Because according to the experts at the Aviationist
2040s, so what is 6th generation going to do during that time? Flex in the background? Like, yeah, you don't even need me, I'm here, there you go.
In some cases, even modern 4th generation fighters like the F-15EX have avionics that are ahead of what's found in the Raptor. The F-22 was missing advanced technologies like your cutting-edge data links, helmet-mounted sights. The technological gap limits the F-22's teamwork, including communications with other US aircraft like the F-35.
Didn't they add that though?
The F-22 struggled with sending and receiving greater amounts of data. So now we have a situation where the F-22's effectiveness in the Pacific theater is being challenged due to its known gas-thirsty engines, which
Oh my god, imagine that F-15EX in some situation might be better than F-22 just because of the helmet mounted and things like that. But didn't they just add the helmet even in the basic F-22? I think that was the case, wasn't it?
reduce its range, which is lower than the F-15. According to the aviationist.com, the revamp will include 3 major changes, including stealthy external fuel tanks, the top-secret AIM-260 air-to-air missile, and 2 new, really mysterious pods. All the way back in 1998, the then U.S. Air Force Deputy Chief of Staff for Air and Space Operations, Major General Bruce Carlson, said, quote, "We're not building the F-22.
Don't want to posthumous, but 1998 does feel like that, right? I was a kid, but I think I kinda remember that. Whoa, how old? I think I was like 5 or 6, around the 5. So very basic memories, but world felt very different than today. Just the feel of it, right? It's very weird to like really having good, like memory of like that old, but yeah, world felt very different.
For the threats we face in 2000 or 2005, we're building it for the threats we will face in 2020. I know it's hard to believe it, but 2020 has already come and gone, and the truth is both Russia and China are now attempting to catch up with American air power. This means that after 20 years of undisputed rule of the skies, the F-22 has new challengers. A recent high-level strategic operational war game of a hypothetical China invasion of Taiwan showed there would likely be no quick victory for either side. Most notably, neither side achieved air superiority, and both sides took heavy losses. The job of establishing air superiority over the 60 million square miles, or about 30% of the Earth's surface in the Pacific.
Hold up there. Are you telling me that even though J-20s don't have cross-section like F-22 is just as enough to be dominant? What the fuck?
Is difficult. To that point, the logistics of getting equipment and personnel to the fight is overwhelmingly the most important factor. And in that sense, China's proximity to Taiwan is a great advantage for them. And here lies one of the F-22's potential weaknesses that need to be addressed. Analysts have said that the extra gas is, quote, the most critical for an air war with China, making long flights over the open water a little more feasible for the otherwise short-range Raptors. Currently, the F-22's range is too short. Thus, in terms of strategy, besides adding new basing access in the Indo-Pacific region, it's a priority to increase the F-22's range. The Raptor's evolution to the Super Raptor. The first glimpse of the revamped Super Raptor aircraft was first captured near the Mojave Air and Space Port at the end of March 2024, and it shows 2 main changes. First, it looks like the 600-gallon fuel tanks of the F-22 have been replaced by 2 new fuel tanks, officially known as the low-drag tank and pylon. These tanks are designed to be more aerodynamically efficient and stealthier than the current 600-gallon fuel tanks. How? Well, they reduce drag thanks to the pylons, which feature advanced...
Hold up, what the hell do you mean like stealthier? I thought that stealth might be compromised because of them. If they can always do this, why didn't they do that the first time? Like, I get it, like 20 years difference, but come on, what new technology come around that you can make this? Come on.
Add smart rack pneumatic technology, enabling precise control over ejection performance and ensuring a sleek low-drag profile. I love having precise ejection control, that's my favorite. When it comes to stealth, the F-22 is said to be almost invisible. If you're an enemy and you're looking at it on your radar screen, it appears to be closer to a marble-sized object, so be on the lookout for flying fast marble. Its infrared and acoustic signatures don't reveal its position thanks to its internal weapons bay that hide its payload from the enemy view until it's too late for them. Combine this with its advanced weapon systems that enable engagement of targets beyond visual range, and you've got a haunting fighter that is so stealthy it could sneak up on its own shadow. The stealthy new fuel tanks would increase persistence and range by up to 37% according to some open source numbers. That would mean a new combat radius of 825 nautical miles, fundamental to the Pacific theater. The program calls for enough to fully equip 143 jets at 2 for each jet. The second change we can see in the picture is that the F-22 now shows 2 pods. These have also been spotted during a flight testing in February 2022 at the Air Force's Plant 42 facility in California. They'll likely house an infrared search and track sensor that's being developed for the F-22, probably similar to the F-35's electro-optical targeting systems. The IRST involves placing a front-facing infrared camera sensor, allowing to detect enemy aircraft and missiles via their infrared signature. This pod would eliminate the need for heavy and expensive modifications to the airframe. Take a look at that F-22 for a second. Notice how it has no IRST or infrared search and track system. It's often used to track enemy targets. There are three possible reasons for this lack of IRST, I think. One is that the F-22 is mainly an air-to-air fighter, and radar is best for picking up enemy in the air, while that IRST is good for tracking ground targets. Number two is it was difficult to create a stealthy version of the IRST pod in the past. And three, it already has a very powerful radar that can detect enemies many times further away. So why might the IRST be the hottest fashion in the summer of 2024? It's making a comeback because next generation sensors have made the capability more effective than it was in the past, back when the F-22 was first designed. So the new infrared pod will have greater...
I mean, it makes sense as well. Like, sure, F-22 is supposed to be air dominance, but like you might have to worry about ground targets as well, right? I mean, you can't go blind that way. Sure, what is like, but what if like ground targets are a threat to you in a way, right? New technologies always pop up. Ground targets might become bigger issues. So this is good in that way. At least you know what's up, right?
Range and new stealth technology, and the new stealth technology makes its adoption viable finally. Budget documents also indicate that production of the IRST is to begin in early 2028, with deliveries the following year. The IRST is part of a sensor enhancement package for the F-22, which will likely include radar and other detection systems to preserve the first look, first shot, and kill capabilities. It's also possible one of these pods on the wing is an electronic warfare pod that the Super Raptor will receive. This would give it additional abilities to jam, deny, and deceive incoming missiles. 142 F-22 Raptors will get retrofits here, and this will be a part of that $11 billion decade-long modernization contract. The Air Force has said that these kits are varied and will address corrosion, reduce maintenance hours, increase safety, and provide urgent response requirements identified by the user. Fear not, the Air Force has a plan for how to decrease the number of Raptors operational while maintaining combat power. Feast your eyes on the highly classified AIM-260 Joint Advanced Tactical Missile, the weapon you choose when you hate someone so much you want to shoot them before you can see them, because this is rumored to hit targets beyond visual range. The weapons program was started in 2017, specifically in response to China's PL-15 long-range missile. China and the United States are basically locked in the highest stakes version of the anything you can do, I can do better game. Even though it's super top secret squirrel stuff here, we have some hints about its capabilities. Aviation expert Steve Trimble said that he saw charts of the Air Force range requirements that showed the test area for the new AIM-260 that were about twice the range of its predecessor. So rumor has it, this will give the F-22 a max firing range of between 200 and 400 kilometers, possibly further. Likely around 180 miles distance, possibly more. Don't shoot me with one if I get that wrong though. The reason people are having to guesstimate widely here about the range is because the newest variant of the AIM-120 predecessor has a range estimated to be about 180, 160 kilometers. So if you double that, it gives us a rough idea of what the AIM-260 will do for the F-22. But you know me.
Yeah. So this is like a weird world we live in, right? Where like air dominance planes can shoot down a target beyond visual range, so they can't even see each other beyond radar, and they're like shooting each other down. That's some insane shit. Where people have been telling me about F-35 and F-22, like these planes are made in a way that you don't even have to go toe to toe, like from the distance, right? Which is insanity, right? And when it comes to like China versus US, I mean, yeah, China is like doing crazy things and like really, picking up things. To me, it always feels like US and their black sites and things like that must have something cooked up. That when they need it, they'll reveal it, and that'll be like too much. And US has history of that, right? US has like like I don't know how to say heritage of like dominant equipment. So it's not like they're just starting from the scratch or something. So they already know how to do this, right? They've been dominant for multi-decades, like way too long time. So it's Cold War and everything, right? They've been really dominant that way. And they've been number one. Their budget is number one. Everything is like too much, right? And it's not like they're known to be too corrupt, where their money becomes like all the R&D money get wasted or something. They like really invest and they really come through. US is known to create some ingenious thing that nobody thought of. So it always makes me think like based on all that history, US must have something that nobody knows, right? So everybody can try to like keep up with US and like even do some great thing. and everybody's gonna have like their super secret thing that nobody knows about, but USA will have some insane thing when really time comes.
I like to use my hometown of Long Island as a unit of measurement, a point that we can all wrap our heads around for context. That means that if you're firing this missile in Queens, you can hit me if I'm all the way on the other end of the island in Montauk. In fact, you could hit me if I was 2 Long Islands away. Here's the best part though, it allegedly moves at Mach 5 speeds. So if you're traveling the length of Long Island, it's only going to take you about 2 minutes. It's able to do this thanks to revolutionary new propulsion technology, but here's the catch. Those numbers are going to vary widely depending on the altitude and the speed of the aircraft firing it. The higher up and the faster you're moving, the longer range it'll be. The air gets more thin the higher up you go, which means it's more difficult for a missile to course correct though. It means that it's more difficult to correct your lead. This is why you want the enemy to not even know you're firing at them. Russia also has a long-range air-to-air missile, the RM-37, which has been the main opponent of Ukrainian fighter jets. It's reported to not score a lot of hard kills, but it was frequently forcing Ukrainian pilots to ditch their missions after taking evasive action because they had low fuel budgets. Simply having more range doesn't mean it's more better. I think that's the grammatically correct way of saying that. We also have to consider when the missile needs to burn its second phase. When it requires that, it means that it becomes easier to be spotted on enemy radar, which is when they can take evasive action. It's said to use inertial guidance, two-way data link, and active radar homing, so it should be more difficult to jam, which is another new requirement as the military shifts to near-peer. Essentially, the air-to-air missile combines a multi-mode seeker with a long-burn rocket system. Ever since sword combat, we've just been growing further and further apart. War is getting lonelier and lonelier. From what I understand, the missile is not operational quite yet. It's still in its testing phase, and the Air
I love that because we also put swords in our missiles apparently. There you go.
Force Major Kevin Audery, who's the lead F-22 Raptor operational test pilot, said live fire testing for the AIM-260 started back in the summer of 2023, so they expect it to go hot sometime in 2024. The Air Force has come out and publicly stated this technology, the AIM-260, is their #1 air-delivered weapon priority for both the Air Force and the Navy, and out-prioritizes all weapon systems and modernization efforts on fielded aircraft. The new missile will be a major part of the Super Raptor's new capabilities. And if you want to debate all of that with me and a community of like-minded people, you can do it at our Discord channel, link in the description. Now put that in combination with the fact that it's also fast flying.
Yeah, but don't do that on War Thunder forum. You might have somebody who actually give you real data. There you go.
At more than twice the speed of sound, has super cruisability, which means that it can operate supersonically without loud afterburning, and can do all of this at 50,000 feet altitude. In the air-to-air configuration, it carries 6 AIM-120 AMRAAMs stowed on separate ejector launchers in the central bay below and behind the pilot, and 2 AIM-9 Sidewinders for engagements within visual range, 1 in each bay aft of the inlets. It also has the M61A2 rotary cannon with 480 rounds of ammo. In the air-to-ground configuration, it can carry 2 1,000-pound GBU 32 Joint Direct Attack munitions. Basically, the upgrade is meant to increase time in air and make it delay while it's there. To retire or not to retire? That is the question. Because the very reasons for the Raptor's upgrade have also been cited for its retirement, arguing that it's not worth spending more money and time to keep the Raptor alive. Less than a year ago, the Air Force was asking to retire up to 32 of the oldest Raptors. However, in a sudden turn of events a month ago, Air Force Acquisition Chief Andrew Hunter called the F-22 his highest priority. What changed? There are different theories, but in general, this debate is nothing new. In fact, the same thing happened when the F-22 replaced the F-15. I think this is a debate between those who want to focus on the future and those who are worried about the present. The ones who are focusing on the future want to...
It's debate about people who like expecting future, expecting too much, right? They think about all the like drones supporting 6th generation fighter and all this like intense high-tech shit. Even if you do that, you're not gonna have a lot of numbers of that, right? If the war does break out, like it's gonna be good, but like how good, right? If the Taiwan versus the US, Taiwan versus China does happen, right? You're not gonna produce 6th generation at that level. You're not gonna like unmanned drone at that level. You're gonna need F-22, right? So it's a struggle there. People like like, oh, nothing's gonna happen, let's just look for the future type of way. Like, not really. If you do that, like you'll be caught like with your pants down. Basically, you need to have something there when you need it. So F-22, I don't think F-22 is gonna go anywhere.
want to retire the F-22 and free up funding for more advanced future tech, while the ones who are worried about the present believe that the immediate need for more combat power should be prioritized, and it remained in production for 15 years, reaching a peak rate of approximately 2 units per month. The program originally intended to have 750 units, but subsequent cuts, delays, and changes gradually reduced this number. The focus on the war on terror and against insurgencies during the 2000s, 2010s meant that the Raptor was sidelined since it wasn't going up against any next-generation jets piloted by the Taliban. Today, the US Air Force has about 186 of these fighters. The final one was completed in December 2011. However, 10 years later, and the Raptor's facing a very different world and very different threats, I think. This was essentially the debate that happened when the Raptor was first canceled in 2000.
Not different threats, proper threats. Like, war against terrorists, like stick and stones versus like advanced race. That's how it was, right? They were with AK-47 and simple thing, while like USA was with like insane power. So F-22 was never used, and a lot of things were never really used because you weren't going against some major power or something. Going against something like Russia or China is going to be different. So you need F-22.
2009. Leadership thought that the aircraft wasn't relevant for the current fight at the time, but let's evaluate their arguments. The side that asked for the F-22 retirement is concerned that at least some of the oldest Raptors cannot compete, for example, with China's J-22. Lieutenant General Richard Moore, Deputy Chief of Staff for Plans and Programs for the Air Force, stated, quote, "The Raptors will never make it to the combat force. They lack advanced communication systems. They do not carry the most sophisticated weapons. They are devoid of the most updated electronic warfare capabilities." On April 2023, Lieutenant General Moore also said that bringing the 32...
Hold up there. So are you telling me J-22 or whatever the Chinese version is like better in those aspects compared to F-22? I mean, it would make sense, but these are like augmented type of upgrades, isn't it? Like you can just like slap on top of it. You can make, that's what basically Super F-22 is. The main power of F-22, which is like mechanics of it, like stealthiness of it, is too overpowered, right? So like basically what Super F-22 is going to be just upgraded at that level. There you go. Like now you have like insane power that you already had, right? F-22 was already untouchable, right? With all these upgrades, like it's going to be properly untouchable.
Jets up to combat capability could cost around $3.5 billion, and it would take a decade to get started, which in his own words is, quote, "a trade to us that doesn't make any sense at all to upgrade aircraft a decade from now at great expense." This side of the debate wants to stop spending on the F-22.
I don't understand, like, why decade though? Like, why is it that slow? Why would you need a decade to upgrade? Like, I don't get that, seriously. I mean, all the ridiculous shit US has done in past 50-60 years, like they've like amped up the time when needed. Like they're just like, okay, let's just do it type of shit, right? A bunker busting bomb and things like that. They're just like, okay, let's get faster. So are you telling me the US, when it's like, you know, like feet against the fire, when that's the case, only then they will rush things? Why do you need decade? Like US can do it if they want to, come on. But that's the thing, I guess. There's no major wars against US. They are not in like that kind of mentality. Like, let's just do this now. It's like, okay, let's do it properly. How much time it will take? 10 years or something. There you go.
You can go to the Next Generation Air Dominance program, which is not just an aircraft, but a system of systems that seeks to develop a 6th-generation manned fighter
UFO
and planned fleet of drone
with a mothership.
wingmen. However, the greatest expense is not money, but qualified people. This side of the discussion fears that Lockheed doesn't have the human resources to deal with saving the F-22. Lieutenant General Moore warned that, quote, "Lockheed is not fully staffed for engineers. It would be reasonable to expect they would have to pull some engineering talent off the F-35 to get this accomplished." And what does that represent?
Okay, why can't you do like a cross country thing? You are part of NATO. NATO's go the same. Like pull people from like Germany or something, right? Working on their thing. Pull some from Britain or something. Like they are known to like do things in military aspect of like really well, right? The Japanese people, like, you know, just like pull multiple companies if you need to. Like you can do it. Come on.
Represent something more valuable than money: time. Those who oppose the upgrade see the world's rate of advancement is getting higher and higher, and they're worried about the threats that they'll face in 2035 or 2060.
Yeah, another thing, I don't want to pause too much, but China is insanely fast. Doesn't matter how much you hate China, you need to understand how fast China is. You can argue that that fastness comes with a cost of like really good quality, but like their simulation told them like nobody achieve air dominance, which means they get the job done regardless of how good they are or not. That's a scary thing. Like China can do things like that. They build like hospitals in like few days or something, right? So that can just give you idea that their amount of number, their amount of like, let's do this type of shit, right? Communism also, like people are not just relaxed sitting down like, oh, this is for the country, do it now type of pressure. So they can do things fast. If like US is gonna fall behind of that, like, oh, we need 10 years while they just do it in 2-3 years, that's gonna be a proper problem.
By the time the F-22 modernization is finished, the aircraft could be nearing the end of its lifespan. Many fear that the then 4 decades old Raptor is just not going to be the right tool for the job. That's what Tobias Nigel meant when he wrote in the editorial of 2022 Air Force Almanac, quote, "An arbitrary and inadequate Department of the Air Force budget, disconnected from the National Defense Strategy, makes too many compromises. This year, the Air Force offered to retire its oldest F-22 Raptors, the most capable fighters in the world, early rather than upgrade them, not because they're not needed, but because there are too many other pressing demands to fund these upgrades," end quote. Nevertheless, the side who wants to keep the F-22 for as long as possible sees that the real pressing demand are current and not future threats. This side includes the US Congress. Congress oftentimes leans towards prioritizing the most immediate pressing threats. From this point of view, waiting for only 250 to 300 NGAD untested fighters could be a risky scenario. But this side argues that in the meantime, you need the Raptor to protect both the US and its allies.
Yeah, they just make the perfect decision. They're the gem right there, right? They are the diamond of like democracy. They always like, yeah, they always have like right issue at hand. There you go.
However, one of the most meaningful threats to the F-22 superiority may in fact be itself. The main challenge with the F-22 is not necessarily its acquisition cost, which isn't cheap to be fair, but rather its high operational expenses, maintenance requirements, low availability rates, and significant difficulties incorporating upgrades. The high operational expenses imply costly flight hours.
Look, man, again, I don't want to pause too much, but it's like I have to say it. A minute from now, new information come from the video, I'll forget what I was gonna say. People sometimes get pissed off, why are you pausing too much? I have to say it now. I have like memory of a goldfish or some shit. I don't know, like I forget things what I was gonna say 10 minutes ago. Or I don't know. So yeah, wait a minute, what was I saying? Yeah, about the maintenance. Yeah, about the maintenance thing. You know, NASA spent certain amount of money trying to go to Mars. I'm not talking about the first time, right? Like even the second or third time. First time is always expensive, right? And there was something from Indian Space Research Organization, right, who spends insanely low amount just to go there and like be successful. Something, was it Mars? Was it Moon? But there was something space related, right? India spent like 10th of the money US spent just to go there, which always made me think like, okay, in American bureaucracy and things, in American like let's just like ask insane amount of money because it's government and government of money type of mentality is much higher. To me, always feels like things are much more expensive than they should be, right? And yeah, things like that happen in democracy all the time. I understand that, right? A lot of people, a lot of money is going to be spent, even half of them if get used, that's like, oh, that's a victory type of shit, right? How much money did you waste in COVID relief fund? Not what is like only 10th of it went to the people that should have, or some shit like that. Like about $1 trillion or something, like more than half of them was wasted or something. I don't even know some number. So I understand that, but still this is ridiculous. In military, like maintenance costs are really high. Really it is? Or do you should like, like put some kind of a committee or like a special team who investigate things like really detailed, like are we spending right? Or people like Lockheed or something like overdoing it. And then Congress, like people and legislations, right? That what is it called? People who pay money to the senators. I forgot the name of that, right? Rubbing the shoulder of senators. So they basically fight in the Congress that you can't have this committee, this and that, and nothing gets happened. Lockheed still gets tons of money. Shit like that always comes in the way, I think. So in these times where like war might be imminent in the future, this is the time where like people should like, okay, you know what? Let's worry about the cost now because it might be a factor. Until now, fine, but now we have to really worry about it, right? But the congressmen and everybody should really put pressure on everything, like, okay, let's get the cost down, don't overcharge or something. I don't know, what is it called, man? I'm forgetting. Like companies pay the senators or something for whatever, right? Forgot the name of that. Shit like that is always come in the way. To me, it always feels like it's like maintenance things could be like less than half if need be, but they're just overcharging everything. What the? Oh, there you go. I know there was a rant there, but hey, there you go. Sometimes when I think how to say it. I don't know.
Flight hours, simply because it requires an expensive support infrastructure. In numbers, this makes the F-22A cost at least an additional 20,000 C/FH or cost per flying hour, compared to other aircraft. I mean, just look at that price sheet for yourself. Some estimates even raise the value to 85,000 cost per flight hour for the Raptor, which is about twice that of the F-15. With those prices, the F-22 better be fueled by some fine scotch and maintained by a team of royal mechanics. The maintenance requirements are that expensive partly because it requires climate.
Technically, the fuel that would go inside F-22 is going to be much more costlier than anything like scotch or something, just because of its octane and things, right? How it's yeah.
Control systems, very specialized equipment, and access to very specific.
Yeah, I had I have a bike ZX-10R, which is like a racing bike, Kawasaki, right? And I realized I had to put like 98 octane fuel. I can't even find it where I am. Like 95 was the maximum. I really had to like scout or go a distance just to find 90 and realize like how costly that shit is. So imagine for something like F-22.
Materials and technological tools, especially to maintain its stealth coating. So she's pretty high maintenance. According to Lockheed Martin, about 50% of maintenance performed on the F-22 is related to repairing the low observable stealth coating that are damaged when the aircraft is opened up for routine maintenance. Also, there are security clearance problems inherent in any secret program. The crew has to be cleared to work on the F-22 from air bases that are also cleared to host and service it. Security clearances can be tough because the US government will look into not just your browser history, but also they'll be checking on your significant others, lovers, friends, people near you, the guy you once met in 5th grade who now writes a conspiracy blog. I wouldn't be surprised if the program even had a secret Raptor handshake. But there's good
I thought it was turning into some kind of sponsor. I'm like, what the hell? Isn't it worth 2 sponsors? No, wait a minute.
reason for it. This is because the F-22 is a strategic asset. The low amount of existing aircraft also makes spare parts more difficult to source. Now it seems like the debate has reached a middle ground. The Air Force will maintain combat-capable F-22s while balancing resources between older models, NGAD, and the F-35 program. Air Force Chief of Staff General David Alvin has said, quote, "Our goal is to maintain those F-22 in their prime operational state, keep them in active service, and subsequently invest some resources in units that require significant upkeep." But what do you think of the Super Raptor? I want to know. Tell me on Twitter, @CappyArmy. I'm your average Jim.
What you think of is awesome. What's there to think of? You just upgraded F-22. Why not? You mean what you think of between the debate? Should we do, should we not? Look, you don't have NGAD yet here, right? Like, and that's a new thing, so I don't know, right? So you need F-22. It's best to upgrade it even if it takes time. I think you should invest in like cutting down time, cutting down money element of it, like crack down on many things. But I know like something like Congress will always step in, like the bureaucracy and all that shit. Same issue Roman Republic had. I guess same shit will happen here as well. It always happens, right? We can't do this. We can't put some kind of a team or like special team of people to investigate. What about the freedom? What about our defenses? What if the new plane is not good because of it? And blah, blah, blah. And like, what is that called? Like people straightly speak for 24 hours, right? It doesn't let a resolution pass or whatever. All that shit will happen and there you go. Right, so in the end, there's no other answer like spend money and wait for time. If that's the case, even if it take 10 years, right? To me, it feels like even if China attacks in next 3-4 years, and if attacks do like stretch out, to me it feels like even 10 years is like worth investing, right? And to me it feels like if war does break out, that time will shorten it fast because America, whenever there is like emergency, they do their emergency shit. They pull out things faster. They don't do that when like all luxury and things. I feel like 10 years will become like 8 or 6 years or something, if need be. And to me, it feels like that would be like fun enough. Like 10 years from now is like what, 2034? If emergency comes, they could be ready at 2030. I'm pretty sure that would be the case. So it's better to invest in this than not. And to me, it feels like USA has been like police of the world so much that they will have to be involved in conflict whether they want it or not because their interests are there as well. US economy is global economy. US needs places like Taiwan and things. So if Taiwan does happen, US will have to get involved. if NATO does happen, regardless of how much Trump says I'm not going to get involved, they will have to get involved eventually because their economy depends on that as well. But yeah. Alright, well, that was the super. Yeah, Trump. I'm pretty sure after the Joe Biden and Trump back and forth, feels like Joe Biden is not going to be president again. That's just like, I'm always like I'm always the one who doesn't grab onto like immediate results. So Joe Biden's the president. So I would assume, regardless of what, the Joe Biden is going to be president again. Only reason I'm saying is because I'm really seeing it like there's no way in hell like people are going to vote for him now. Only reason they would, if Joe Biden comes to be a president again, is that people really don't want Trump. Like that would be a clear-cut thing. Like we don't want Trump, right? If Joe Biden does become president now, Trump shouldn't run again because people really don't want him. Because the last debate was barely a debate. That was insanity. Like if Joe's age is really showing, like damn, in just like 1 or 2 years, he's like really bad now. But yeah. Right, well, if you like my channel, like, subscribe. If you have comment about anything, comment down. Always read comments. Whether I reply or not, always like check the comments, like who's saying what. Like information is always interesting. That's why I would do these videos. For I would have watched this video anyway, but now it's a reaction channel, so I react to it. More people chip in. I always learn thing or two. So yeah, I'll see you next time.